Welcome to Salaam Nerds Podcast. We do reviews and recaps of nerd culture, reality TV, and current events from this week.
Yo, it's the Salaam Nerds. My name is Dean, aka Watch the Dean. I'm here with my boy Chad.
We drop live episodes on YouTube on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. All episodes can also be found everywhere podcasts are found. Thank you to all our supporters. Please help us by subscribing and leaving a good review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yo, Salaam Nerds. It's your boy Neeps, aka Watch with Neeps, and I'm not here with Jazz because Jazz still does not have power. Poor Jazz, living in Houston, no power. Womp womp. But I do have some special guests for you today, and you guys have seen them on almost all the episodes that we have done on the Acolyte. So welcome to the show. Christine, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to get this started. Thank you for having me back, of course.
All right. Well, we love all your takes. We enjoy having you on the podcast, and I'm really excited to talk to you. Next, we have on the guest someone who's probably not gonna like me very much today. It is Sawara. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back, Neebs. Don't worry, you're allowed to have your wrong opinions, and I will still love you, man. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have wrong opinions. I'm just kidding. But I will just say, I love this episode so much. I love the Acolyte so much. I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
I must have watched a different show. I don't know what just happened.
I think he did.
By
I
the
worry
way,
about you sometimes.
Oh yeah. By the way, if you guys, if I sound really weird, it's because I do have a little bit of a cold that I'm getting over. But
oh no, Salaam talk.
I know, but hopefully I'll be all right. It's not too bad. Hopefully I don't sound too nasally for you guys. But let's talk about it because there are parts of this episode that I really like. There's parts of this episode that I don't really like. So I am really curious to hear about what you guys like about this episode so I can shit all over it.
Oh, what a jerk.
Oh my God.
All right.
Work with your pessimism, man.
All right, so you are the one who are the most excited. Tell us how you feel about this episode in general.
This gave me everything I wanted. I was anticipating the Jedi to be shown to be full of shit and to be, the murderers of the Coven, but the way in which it was done, yes. Showing their arrogance, showing their ego, showing their sheer sense of moral righteousness that actually decimates everyone around them. Yes. And with this episode, Leslie Headland and her team, they said, "A-jab. Jedi are bastards." I mean, that's obviously a hyperbole, and obviously, and here's what I want to say. And it's like, I tweeted out a hot take today that I think what this episode proved is that even though individual Jedi aren't, necessarily bad, the Jedi Order as an institution is. And I say that because even though supposedly it was, the Jedi Order that, told Indara and Sol not to try to take the girls, although I don't think Indara actually called the Jedi Order. I mean, we'll say about that, but it's just that, they were still, by this order, given the moral righteousness and thought that they could just go ahead and decimate this family. It was enraging to see, but also cathartic to see. And I just I loved it. I think that it struck the right balance. And yes, Maria, they are ops. Exactly. And it's just I'm just so amazed. It's I knew it was coming, but the way it was done, I wasn't necessarily anticipating. And just bravo, Leslie Headland, your team. Love it.
All right. Christine, how about you? Tell us your thoughts. Oh, you got to be off mute first. That might help.
Hush. No, because I didn't want to make noise behind them because I was so excited. But no, it was amazing. I think it was a really well told story. I love that there were layers. And I want to take a much as I loved it, I'm going to take a little bit different take than Swara because...
Of course, go for it.
It's not that the Jedi themselves are bad, the institution itself is bad. I just think we have seen that when you have, everybody has flaws, right? and that's fine. Nobody is perfect. But when you have that much power, your mistakes have a heavier weight of consequences. So you're kind of held to a higher standard. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see it as the Jedi are terrible. I just think that there needs to be checks and balances. There's just like too much power in one pool with nothing keeping them from doing anything else. I have a lot of other thoughts, but like that's kind of where I was. And then also I knew it. I knew it. I said that little girl didn't try to burn her little sister. I just want to say when we go back to the episode, I know what we saw, but I know we didn't see the whole story. So I just felt very validated that they showed that it was an accident. And it was so legit for a little girl to do that. Can I tell you a story? Because I used to love Xena Warrior Princess, all right? And my
Mm-hmm.
little, I won't tell you how old I was, but I was a child, but I also was a little bit too old I should have known better. Like I was probably about her age. And Xena did this thing where she took a glass of wine, knocks it back, and then like spews it out at this torch. And like, the fire goes, and like burns the bits off of this guy. Thought that was super cool. So my
It
little
does.
friend
Ricky the
did
Dragon
was
Steamboat, yeah.
right. So I was like, ooh, what can I do? So I grab a can of hairspray and I grab a lighter. And like the fire scared the mess out of me. I literally just dropped everything and ran.
Yeah.
But of course, like the hairspray, because I guess I had hairspray in the cap, it
Yep.
was still on fire. So I come back in my room and there's like a little fire in my room. Can I tell you, I just felt so seen that they did that. Like just a little kid playing on fire. Like, yes, that's exactly what it's like.
That's so interesting. I too almost burned my house down because I was like, oh, trying to make pizza one day, and it said like, preheat the oven at 225, and I'm like, hey, preheat the oven at 225, 15 minutes. If I double the temperature, all half the time. Well, food doesn't work that way, and I almost burned down my house. But I was not a child. I was 18 in college.
Oh no.
Yes. These are the things that I do. All right. Here's my take. All right. Very different from you guys. I think everything you guys are saying is spot on. I don't have any issues with this. I hated the way this episode was shot. I feel like 10 minutes of this episode were scenes we've already seen before. Another 10 minutes were the same scenes, but a different point of view. And then actual 10 minutes of actual stuff that happened, which wouldn't be a problem if we had a longer episode. But in a 30-minute episode, like it took such a long time for me to care about anything happening in that episode because it was just things I've seen before, things I know before. And like, yeah, we got to see Soul sneaking around, and it's the same thing. It's just his point of view. And I felt like this scene could have been cut short and combined with another episode or something because it just didn't do enough for me. And then at the end, where like they end the episode so unceremoniously saying May started the fire, and I'm like, that's it. Like I did not love the way it was structured. It did not. It did not. I know someone says like hates Rushman. I don't hate it because that's the whole movie. You get to see so many points of view. But for this movie, for this show, it's not long enough. It didn't work for me. And even if you compare it to like Rashomon, like you see it from different points of views, but it's not the same scene. Like there were like at least 10 minutes of the same exact scene, not just from a different point of view, the exact scene. And I didn't love that about it. And then when some of the things happened, I was like, narratively, like they didn't work for me too much. Like I did not love a lot of the things that they chose. Some of the things I did like how they did, but like I was very surprised to see Soul as the main bad guy and not Indara. I thought that was a little different, and I was like, that was a little jarring. I was like, oh, that's interesting. The Torben part, I love that. I thought that was great. I was like, that makes a lot of sense to me. I get it, and it kind of helped. But then we thought this, like, you guys have said, like, oh, it's Ajab and like all Jedis are bad. But when you really think about it, it was just these Jedi. The other council were actually like, hey, leave these people alone. They were actually the good guy. Like the institution didn't do the wrong thing. It was these particular bad Jedis. I feel like I got the opposite, which we'll call it interpretation out of that. Like the institution is good, but these are a couple of bad apples who've made mistakes. And I'm like, that's not what I like about it.
But Neves, you know that what the saying is: a few bad apples ruin the bunch.
Yeah, but the institution is like, they're the ones with the all-seeing power. I thought they would also be part of this cover up. And I also thought it would be a lot worse. I thought it would be like a whole ass genocide or something. All they really did
But
was
they
kill.
killed the whole coven. Like,
Did they? I didn't.
They did.
They
Yeah.
did.
Did through Indara's sorry, I don't mean to start an argument, but like
Sure.
through Indara's recklessness, through trying to sever this force connection that the other main witch was doing on the Wookiee Jedi,
Yeah.
like it was inadvertent killing of the rest of the coven.
I thought they just got
However-
knocked out. It was
No,
not clear
they-
to me that they died. I thought
No,
they
they
just
even
left
died.
them.
but even
They
if
left them
they
there for
got
dead.
knocked out, they left them there with the place on fire. They only
Sure.
sent Soul after the two twins. So whether
Right.
she killed them when she took them out of Kanaka or if she just knocked them out, they're still responsible for the deaths because they did not try to save them. I
But
mean,
I
don't
still
check
think
out.
I still think those are two different things. I think killing people and then leaving for them for dead are two different things. And the Jedi's are not about leaving people for dead. Like that's so uncharacteristic of
disagree.
the Jedi's. I don't know. I don't love
They
that.
were trying to cut their losses,
And then
I think.
the idea that like the Jedi's don't hurt unarmed people, and look what they did. Like they killed all these unarmed people. Like they're
Yes, they did.
so
Are they
like
unarmed though? If they can use the force,
That's
like
true.
if they have powers, they're actively trying to harm you. They may not have like a sword or a lightsaber, but I
Sure.
still think that they are the weapon. So I don't see it that way.
Then by that definition, then like every Jedi or Sith you kill, they're armed. Like it's a I don't know. I feel
But-
like it's a very slippery slope.
So, well, I don't know where that rule like came from. So they kept saying it a lot during the show,
Yeah.
but also it's not like they came up to them and just said, "Ha, slice the head off." It was
Yeah.
in the middle of a conflict. I'm not defending them because I think what they did was wrong. I'm just
Yeah.
saying for that point of them being unarmed, I think if you're in combat with somebody who has power to defend themselves, whether or not it's with a physical weapon or they themselves a weapon, I don't think that's like attacking somebody without a weapon. And one thing I wanted to point out, actually, no, I lost my thought. I'll bring it back later.
But I just think that the Jedi they should have made the Jedi's worse than they were, because I don't like this idea of this being a
I-
misunderstanding. Like, is there's too much wiggle room
But
there?
they were still terrible.
What
They were still
wiggle
absolutely
room?
terrible.
I like basically like, oh, the fire wasn't their fault. The fire was May's fault. There was an accident. This whole tiny little fire. What kind of faulty wiring is in this damn place where the whole thing burns down over a little fire like that? Like,
It
come
was
on.
an oil lamp that and then she kept calling for help and no one went to attend to it. This is why I got out of control.
And also,
She
Soul
was
has
like,
such-
help me.
Look, Soul has such a strong connection with Osha. He literally thought May was Osha when she walked in
Yeah.
and talking about the fire.
Because Soul is full of shit.
Your
These
Soul is so
Jedi
full
are
of
full.
shit.
These Jedi, including Indara, one degree or another, they
Indara's the one
are
with the
self-
cool head. I did not like the fact Indara
she
was the
ended up killing this
But
coven.
okay,
But
she had a
to
cool head,
save
except. But she would
Tanaka.
say, "Oh, we shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. We shouldn't do this." But then she would still
Yeah.
go and do it. So does it really matter
Yeah.
if she was saying we should stay calm? We shouldn't go in. They'll think we're attacking them. No, but let's still break through the door. Go ahead, Kanaka. Like still cut through the lock, and we're all gonna roll up in there. I'm like, she still did the stuff,
But
right?
that's
They
what
were
I don't
still
like. It
reckless.
doesn't
They
make
s-
sense to me. It's like I narratively, like you're
Okay.
It's happening too quickly. She's saying no, but she's doing it. She's saying no, but she's doing it. And I'm like, who's the leader here? Is it Soul? Is it Indara? Like, does she have no authority here? Like, it didn't
I-
register for me.
I think that's a good critique that goes into your larger critique of the series, that there should be more time, that these should be larger
Sure.
episodes. I suppose it's also like, from, the viewer's point of view of, oh, can I latch on to what I interpret in this scene or not, or do I need more explanation? And that's fair. I absolutely see that as a valid critique. It's just that I just felt as though these Jedi were being reckless throughout. And we already had throughout the series hinting of their arrogance, hinting of this recklessness of whatever did happen, and we are seeing it now. So for me, it's like putting those puzzle pieces together, and that's satisfying. But I also want to go back again to your critique, Neebs, because I think that you would have, and probably more people as well, would have enjoyed the series more if it had been a movie.
Sure.
because
Yeah.
because as much as I love the series, I will admit that it definitely feels at times fragmented, or maybe it should have been fewer episodes, maybe 6, and like you could have had episodes joined together instead of the 8.
Hmm.
Ultimately, I wish like it was still 8 episodes and they were longer. um Maybe like something could have been better in the editing room, but the core, the like writing, the acting, still everything that I'm seeing in this series is just so inspirational to me and so riveting and keeps me engaged. And that's why with this penultimate episode, when they did do the thing I said they would do, like the Netflix thing of having your penultimate episode be the explainer of what actually happened
Sure.
and give you context, they pulled it off really well. And again, with the performances, the writing, honestly, I think the direction, personally, I do hear what you're saying about repeated scenes, but you know what? It's still like a scene within context of what we got before. So I think it still did work really well, and I loved it. Although I definitely hear why you didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the timing could have helped it quite a bit for sure. I actually did not think they were dead. I feel like that wasn't clear to me. So if they're dead, maybe I'll have a different look at it. Maybe come at it from a different perspective. Let's look at a few comments. Let's see what people are saying. All right, let's see. All right, we got some comments here. I think the episode showed that the coven to bear a lot more responsibility of what went down. Yeah, it did kind of feel like they
I
were.
disagree. I very
Yeah,
much disagree. I think that like you had these Jedi colonizers bashing into this indigenous community and their cultural practices, making assumptions of what they were doing with their daughters. We see this in real life far too often with
that's
like
very true. I totally agree with that.
missionaries throughout history, through like other colonizers, like going to like civilize the savages. Like it gave all those vibes. I want to give a shout out to my friend on Twitter, Jordan Mason. He writes amazing reviews on his Cinelink site. He was talking about this, how often, you know, indigenous fans or fans of color are talked down by white fans. Not saying that anyone's doing that here.
Sure.
Like no one's white here. But like, you know, often get talked down to by like, you know, because they don't understand the dynamics, because this
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
very real thing, and I like resonated with that very much. So
But
I
I
think
feel like
that
And Endor made
yeah.
a point of saying that too. Endor made a
Mhm.
point of telling Soul, no, this is their practices, this is how they live. And then another thing is, of course, they're going to be on the defensive. You broke into our house. We're hiding away purposely. You run up in here, tell me how to raise my kids.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
what? What do you mean? It's on site. Like how are they not be on
Yeah, like
defensive?
mind
Like,
your
how,
business.
like
I
yes, mind
I
your business. Why are you
Here's the
here?
thing. I totally agree with that. I'm 100% on board, and I feel like for us that's very easy to see. But I feel like other people watching this it was not it was maybe too subtle for them to actually get that point. I feel like a lot of people are looking at this and be like, "Oh, well, the Coven did a lot of things that were messed up and led to their problems." I feel like they didn't need that. They didn't need to add the like blaming the victim a little bit in this scene of like mother what's the name with the horns, Corley, you know, like her
About the
being
quarrel.
aggressive and telling May to do this. Like I feel like we could have had this without that. And I'm not saying they have to be perfect like victims to this, but it was a little bit like, ah man, like I really wanted to like drive a stake to the hearts of the Jedi. I didn't want to give them a little bit of like, hey, it was oopsies. Like no,
But
they
they're
were
not
really bad.
pure. But they're not
Yeah.
pure evil, and the witches aren't pure victims. I think the fact that it's complicated and messy is like
Yeah,
one of the most like attractive
more
parts of it for
realistic.
me. It is
yeah,
more realistic.
yeah.
Like like you said, like they had these good intentions because he wanted to save her, but he's going in, you know, with on all his arrogance, not reading the room, not taking time to figure things out, breaking in, walking over wall, like,
Mhm.
and then of course they're like, how should they have responded? Oh yes, come here, eat at my table. What? Excuse me? No, like that's not how we do things. Like that
Yeah,
doesn't make
well,
any sense for me.
Yeah,
I
this
totally
isn't the
get it.
first Thanksgiving.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yeah, I thought that I do, but I didn't want to
Well,
bring it up.
that's
But
why
that's
I
what I
love
thought.
the Torben storyline, because I feel like that's what
Mm.
I needed, because I was like, all right, this is the person, because that's not a mistake. That's just him being what you call foolish, arrogant, and like almost like Anakin, like where he's like, I don't deserve to
Mhm.
be collecting plants. I should be doing something more important, right? This like self-righteousness. And when he found an
Mhm.
opportunity that he could just get off this planet, he ran towards it. And instead of like blocking him and telling him, "Hey, let's go back." Soul's like, "All right, I'm going to help you do this." Like, what the fuck, Soul? Like,
Yeah, because Soul was acting selfish. He
Because
like
he had his
latched
own
on-
desire.
Yeah.
No, I was agreeing
He
with
just-
you. He had his own desire. Go ahead.
Yeah.
he has
No,
his own
sorry,
desire and
Christine.
is so strong with Osha that he couldn't even tell he was talking to May. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Right,
I hate
because
this
he was
motherfucker.
projecting. He was acting like this. He was acting like a colonizer. He was like, I
Yeah.
gotta like take this indigenous girl away from
He's-
her family and convince her that she needs like to learn the Force in a quote unquote right way. And
He observed them. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was gonna say he observed them for like 5 minutes. Said they didn't even get treated like children. Like you saw them for 5 minutes when they're having a lesson. Sir,
And
how do you know how they're being treated?
Do the Jedi
Like-
treat kid with children? I have no
First
attachment.
of
to
all-
people.
Dude, they systemically kidnap children. The Jedi are
Like
bad.
horrible.
So
Yes, no.
I feel like we're all on this, like we're all in agreement, but like for me, it wasn't enough to make me feel the way you guys are feeling.
The
because of
execution
time
wasn't
That's
there
what I was
for
gonna
you.
say.
execution. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Because actually, what you were saying before, like your critique, I don't technically disagree with your critique, but just it doesn't bother me. Like I enjoyed sitting and watching it all again and seeing where these things fit in, and then the way they set it up, where you're saying, "Oh, there's repeat things." Well, it's nice because I didn't have to go back and watch episode 3 again to make sure make things make sense.
Yes.
Because like I got things to
I
do. You know
mean,
what I mean?
honestly,
I love it, but at the same time, so
I don't know
like
if you
I
watched
was
the-
there.
Here's the thing: I watched those same scenes in the recap part of the thing. They recapped it and then they showed part of it.
That's fair.
I'm just gonna say I don't know if it's like a slow burn thing, if it has to be just like your taste, but I was
Yeah.
all in. I was there. I
That's
was
fair.
like,
That's
you
fair.
you feel them in the forest, and like you
Yeah.
see they've been there for a while. Like I just felt like it had to be. I just like the way that the story was told. I like that the few things that showed were different. I think we had enough things that were different and some that were the same, so you can like follow the story along. And like to me, it did hit because especially when I knew I was right. And two, like what what he did was so much more horrible than like I was like, oh, you've been keeping that from her. You're the reason why she's so angry. Your lies have
Honestly,
kicked her out.
I mean,
Like
Soul should have
literally.
been in that trance. Like he's the one that should be atoning, not Torvin. Soul, like the way I flipped on this guy, he was the only person I liked on the show, and now he's like the person I hate the most on this show.
Amazing.
is
That's
like-
great.
Yeah. I do
Soul
want to talk
struggled
about this
for me.
comment though. Someone said the episode made me understand May as a character more. May
Absolutely.
saw what Soul did. Like
Yes.
no wonder she feels that way. I felt I do agree that this
She's
episode did a great
justified.
job with that.
I
She's
completely, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
definitely accept all that woman's wrongs. And whatever she decides to do after she finds out, like I fully support them. Like this
Yeah.
is insane. This is insane.
MTF says the Coven killed themselves. Like the thing is like
I don't agree.
categorically reject.
Yeah.
All due respect, Michael, but I categorically reject this line of argument. The Jedi bear extreme culpability in this.
the thing is, like, we don't know how these powers work. So honestly, I'm kind of like, I don't think they killed themselves, but like, it was very like not clear to me what happened. It's like, oh, they took him out this trance, and they passed out. So like, oh, every time you take a Jedi out of this trance, like the people who was controlling them die. Like, I don't know what's happening in
It
that.
doesn't have to be every time thing though. Just what would happen in that instance, and you can kind of see regret on her face after she does it.
Yes.
So
But,
whether
like-
they just passed out or they're just dead, like.
But we
it definitely
saw
was because of her.
we saw the mother do that to Torben earlier, and it's basically just her going into his mind and basically manipulating him, right? And they're probably doing that to Kalnaka. I don't understand.
It was
how...
a different level though. It was a different level because she's just talking to him and he was just standing there. She never physically made him do anything except for kneel.
Well,
They
we
had
didn't
to
see
like
that.
it,
We don't see what they were doing because we only got to see the version in real life, same way we saw it in episode 4. And this episode, we got to see from Torben's perspective, and we never got to see from Kalnaka's perspective. We never.
no, but
see
what I'm
he
saying
did
is
that.
Kanaka actually fought against his like Jedi brothers. So we
Yeah.
know that whatever they did made him physically attack repeatedly his fellow Jedi, whereas Torben is just standing there. So I feel like there has to be, just like whatever universal magical rules, there has to be a whole lot more effort. And we know there's a whole lot more of them doing that for them to take over him completely and make him fight his like Jedi brothers. Like that just makes sense to me, magic wise. I don't know.
I don't know. It just
What don't you know, man?
it just feels kind of
me help you.
sloppy because like you don't understand how the powers work, and then like, oh, they all die, and then they're
But
probably going.
also, do we need to understand all the
That's what I'm saying.
details?
You don't have to
Yeah,
know every little thing.
right. Do we need to? Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant.
Like, look,
This
all
is
we
a bit.
saw was them pass
Wait,
out on the
wait,
floor. How do you know they're dead?
don't interrupt. Don't interrupt my
All
rant.
right,
I was about to rant.
all right, go for it.
Just about this like phenomenon in fandoms generally, like with both with theorizing and with needing the details to as much stuff as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I love theorizing. I love
Sure.
getting the details. I am a fan. I also don't think that they're necessarily always necessary for understanding.
I agree
things.
with that. I agree with that.
I believe in showing, not telling, and I also believe in leaving some things up to interpretation. Like I have had, with other friends of mine, for example, shout out to Adrian of But Why Though, who is taking a harder stance like on the coven themselves, but also like having the Jedi be culpable. He still loved the episode, as do I, whereas I might be harder on the Jedi. I love these different interpretations. That's what really good art should do. I think that we can have these disagreements and we can have these different interpretations. And yeah, like I guess the critique of like there should be more details. Yeah, absolutely. If you feel like there needs to be, I just personally like that. There maybe isn't. I think that can be inherent in the art itself. Maybe that's me giving too much credit, but I felt like again, it was deliberate and intentional, and that's what I love about this show. I see why you think it's sloppy, Neebs. I disagree. I really enjoyed it.
That's fair. I mean, I
Right.
totally get that. If you really liked it, that's totally fair. Coven was using their power to murder the Jedi. So
Because
like,
the Jedi invaded their home. What are you gonna do
sure.
when like
Yeah.
someone
I,
just
I
tries to
totally
break
agree
in
with
your
that,
home?
but I mean the idea that like there was no way to save Kelnaka other than killing all these people. Like usually the
By the way,
hero
so
finds a way.
for the listener who may not know, like I was responding to a comment that Neebs was reading and not Neebs himself. I was not
yeah,
yelling
yeah,
at Neebs right there. Just wanted to make that clear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People on the Spotify, they're probably thinking you're yelling at me, but yeah, there are also comments popping up on the screen.
I
Yeah.
only
No.
ever yell at Neebs in love and joy. That's it.
That is true.
Wow, that
is
sounded
true.
wrong. Never.
Maria says, "I will never get over Soul mistaking me for Ocean." Honestly, that
Yeah.
pissed me off so bad. And
Yeah.
like, I love that Indara called him out. Like, you just wanted a Padawan so bad, and like, she even teased him earlier, and it's like, "Oh, that's why I have a Padawan
Yeah.
and you don't." And it's
Yeah.
kind of like this whole thing is all over his like insecurities. Like, bro, grow up. Yeah. So it says Soul was definitely reckless, but out of a sense of wanting to protect Osha. Yeah, but he thought it was May. I don't know. What about May?
Exactly.
Well, he
Protect
thinks
Osha
May it's
from
too
her
late
own
for May.
family?
He did make the point of saying that they already performed dark magic on her, and it's probably too late for her. She's always gonna be followed by that dark magic, but this one we can save. So he already had that in his mind. So he was trying to save Osha, but of course he doesn't like pull back her bangs and make sure like she got the right twin. But like his actions were in his own mind trying to be noble, trying to save her.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know what's interesting is that they didn't delve into, so maybe we'll find out in the last episode. When they're talking about their creation, and they're talking about and they purposely did their little rhyme again about being like they're one but born as two.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that the power that like could create that, like their count, the midichlorian count was exactly the same. Not the count, but whatever. Like their DNA. Not just like twins, but like it's impossible. So one soul and two bodies. Who is she? Like I'm like, did she a new creation? Did they literally just birth a baby and like split it in two forcibly? Or was that somebody like a past leader who died and they like, did something with her soul and put in the twins? You know what I mean? Like I want to know, like, where did she come from? And hopefully we'll get that answer. If not, we'll see in season 2. It has to be season 2. It's so popular. It has
that's
to,
one of the things. Well, that's one of the things that I really loved about the show. I love the idea of the convergence and talking about like what it does and how it can make life and how it can make life for a whole planet. Like, I love when they extend the lore and stuff like that. And I feel like this show does that really well. That's one of the things that I really, really love about this show. So I did really like that. I thought that part was done really, really well. So that was pretty solid.
Yeah,
Someone's
let's talk about this more. Like,
sure.
I am absolutely fascinated by this concept that May and Osha are not just twins. I mean, it brings like a whole level of context to Victoria's Monet song "Power of Two." Like literally that lyric, "I'm at war with myself and I'm losing the game." Like just, it's
Hmm.
literally May and Osha are at war with themselves because they literally are each other. They literally are the light and dark side at one time or another, and they have to balance each other out.
Yeah.
So I also like, I'm theorizing. You see, I'm a fan. I theorize like that. Maybe the ascension was them combining into one person or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't think that's where they were going, but I do want to talk about how I think that we talked about what the Jedi did and what the Coven did, right?
Mhm,
And for you guys, I'm curious, since you guys think like it was mostly the Jedi's that were at fault, and the Coven that weren't
mhm,
the aggressor. Do you think Soul explaining that to May is enough to make her change and go to the light side? Because I feel like there's enough information to make Osha go to the dark side. Because I'd be
mhm.
like, oh shit, is that what happened? Yo, say less. Let's go. Let's be
Yeah,
bro.
last week I would have absolutely said I expected it to be that way, but since we know what he actually did when he saw, I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe there's some kind of healing she could let go of her anger, but I don't think she'll ever. I don't think she'll ever be so good that she'll be a Jedi. But we already know that all she is in it is for revenge. So maybe this will
Mhm.
come to a point where she's not trying to kill him anymore, and her focus will like switch just to like going back to her sister because that's what she really wanted. Because this whole time she just didn't want her sister to go, and she would and like her mother Coral was like pumping her up to be aggressive. They're like, okay, just make sure she doesn't leave. She breaks the lock. And like when she sees the Jedi symbol, she's just trying to burn the symbol because she doesn't want her sister
Mhm.
to go. And then of course, oil and just
Sure,
But
sure.
like she never like expected to be separated from her sisters. That's all she really wants. So I don't think she'll be good as in she'll be like a Jedi force for good. But I
Yeah.
do
Mhm.
think it could come to a point where she won't like try to kill Soul. Maybe she'll forgive him enough. Or maybe she won't and there'll be two acolytes. I don't know. But I really feel
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I think
Go ahead.
it could provide her a way to have some catharsis and know that she was justified in her quest for vengeance, and seeing Soul actually take responsibility, accept his culpability truly, fully, and openly, that could
Mm,
be a turning point for her. I mean, we'll
mm,
see, but
I don't know if I
I
would say that because he's only sharing this story because he has to now. He kept this for 16 years, had no intention of
Mhm.
telling anybody, and it's really until his back's against the wall he's telling story. Soul a bitch. Enough said.
He did. I
No,
will
I
give him a
agree.
little
Yeah.
bit of credit because he's been talking about this. Somebody to tell you, he's been dragging his feet. But I mean, now that I know how heavy the secret is, I understand.
Mhm.
But he has been like thinking about it since before. I forget what episode it really was, whether it was like around 4 or so. But he was like, "There's something I need to tell you." He never got stuff kept happening, so he never got to tell her. But he did just want to unburden himself because he wasn't really down with the secret in the first place. Although he let himself get bullied into keeping it, and he's the one that told her first. But I do think that he will come forward. But at the same time, like I said, I don't know how much credit that is worth that she wanted to come clean. Maybe they want
No,
to like
no.
I don't know until I see it happen. Like I can't make a decision ahead of time. I
If
need to see
Soul
how that plays
Mhm.
out.
if Soul has no hater, I am dead because I hate that guy so much. Like, here's the thing, right? All these people did something, right? Kalnaka
Mhm.
went to live in the Shrek village. Torben put himself in like a vow of
Shrek.
silence, right? But
Mhm.
like Saul, what was he doing? Training a new Padawan, like nothing happened. Just
Mhm.
dumped Osha and is on to the next one with Jackie. Like,
Yep.
bro, like nothing happened. Like, Indara, at least she went along with it, but at least she originally had the right ideas. She said everything to do
Mhm.
correctly. So I can see her just wallowing her sorrows in a bar. That's fine. Soul was just going on being a good soldier and Jedi. He didn't feel bad about it at all.
We don't know that he didn't feel bad because it feels like everything about him
Didn't
had
feel
weight
bad
and
enough
like
to do what Kalnaka and Torben did. And
no, he didn't. But everybody
Right.
deals with suffering in their own way. And I do think that like he takes that now, like you see the weight, like I said, of your
yeah.
consequences, of your choices. So like he's trying to raise people in the Jedi way in a way that like won't lead to like, what he went through. I'm gonna say like I struggle with like hating Soul and I don't know. I don't know why I'm so attached to him. Like I don't know if it's all the Korean dramas, like I just see, like I don't know, but like
the
I
actor is
really-
amazing. No hate to the actor.
don't-
No hate to the
of
actor.
course. Yeah.
I'm
He's
like,
killing it.
now I do think that he 100% was wrong, and he needs to face consequences for his actions. But at the same time, I'm not ready to like throw him in the fire. Although if Ocean was to kill him, I mean, like he had it coming.
He had to go. Someone said Mother Anasea was diplomatic, level-headed, and actually placed what her daughter wanted over what the Coven wanted. Yeah, it was Mother Corley who would rather die or kill than let Osha go. So
Absolutely.
she was definitely that.
Yeah,
I like this
I
comment
completely
too.
agree.
I think if you're going to hold a character morally accountable for a choice, you need to show that the character was aware of the consequences of that choice. And I think that's a fair one too.
Wait,
I guess it
who's the
depends on what you
one-
mean. Are you talking about Soul?
Yeah.
Are you talking about when he killed the mother? Because
Like you're
I don't know,
still
I feel like I'm just
reckless and like it's just I don't know. I don't think that really makes it better if you're trying to be cognizant, because he wasn't trying to be cognizant of the consequences of his actions. He was just barging in head first because he was like so convinced that oh, I'm the one who has to save.
Right.
It's just like
And even when he killed the mom, a lot of people saying he did it by mistake. I don't think he did it by mistake. I feel like he regretted it after the fact. But when she turned, like when he thought he saw Osha, and then she changes into like whatever her Super Saiyan form is, and then he immediately pulls out his saber and like throws it in her because he thinks he's saving Osha. He thinks that they're rather kill her. And then when the moment she tells him the truth, I'm like, no, I was gonna let her go. Then he's like, oh snap. So I feel like you still like he chose to do that without having all the information. So I still think we can hold him accountable for that.
Yeah,
Like-
well, he definitely is supposed to be held accountable. Although, like, Jedis are not supposed to, pull out their weapons unless they intend to use it, right? So, like, even before that, he had every intention of using it, and it's really interesting because they also, and like, you guys don't believe that, like, if you have the Force, you're not unarmed, but that's a big part of the lore of this show is that you have to kill a Jedi unarmed, and a Jedi doesn't kill anybody who's not unarmed. And I think that's what May was referring to. And she was like, oh, really? You don't kill anybody that's unarmed? I doubt that, right?
Yeah.
So
she also was 8. So like she's 8, so her mom killed. I could still see her, like I'm not judging my opinion, but I could see how she would say her mom was unarmed when she was just stabbed in the stomach by a Jedi. You know what I mean? So I can definitely
I don't
see
know.
that.
It's kind of like if a boxer is, in a fight with a cop, can you say he was unarmed just because he's skilled and he's a fighter? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Force being unarmed.
I don't think that's equivalent because a boxer doesn't have magical powers that could cut off his breathing. And then is the cop killing him with a gun? Like that's unequal. Like
That's also goes into like Marvel comics, right? All superheroes need to be registered because they have powers. Are you on the side of the Civil War? Like what's up?
Oh no, absolutely not. I just need to be registered. I'm just
make all superheroes.
Why is everything I say?
Yo, we fight in this episode. I'm telling you. I told you. I came ready
Are we
to
going
fight.
there?
I
Team
feel like I'm
Cap,
losing, but I'm still fighting.
The Team Iron Man was trash, and he didn't even care about the actual registration. He cared about himself and his own guilt, and put it on everybody else. No, sir, you're the problem, not everybody else.
That is true. That is true.
And if you ever actually read the what's it called, the Concords or the
Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, the Accords. Well, if you ever actually read them, they are some registration, registering Jewish and Nazi, it's horrible what was actually.
Wait, are we talking about the MCU version or the Marvel Comics version?
MCU version. Because the comics is worse, but just because the show, I was just talking about the MCU.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, but no, they have released what the Accords in the MCU were about.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's talk about some Easter eggs that I did notice. So number one, they
calling
talk about
Team Iron Man. I'm so mad about that. I've never been Team Iron Man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take it back. I take it back. Please forgive me.
You might be able to see him right there, Captain America. His little red, white, and blue. Can you? I can't get my finger when I'm going backwards.
All
But there he is.
So a cool Easter egg they dropped was that they said a crazy hyperspace explosion happened here, which is also one of these like canon events that also involve Vanestra, I believe, and it's one of the reasons she's uneasy with hyperspace. And it's supposed to be like this big explosion, and people date things from it. That's how big of an explosion it was. And that's why there was no life on this planet. And then all of a sudden, there was life on this planet, right? So I thought that was really, really interesting that they talked about that. So I don't know. I thought that was a cool little tidbit that they pointed out. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, because there wasn't it. I believe like I heard it from someone else. Don't think I actually need the lore, but I feel like I heard that like the ship parts were like going everywhere and actually like destroying planets and things like that, and that's what happened. Like that was insane. I did not know Vanestra was involved with it, but I did know Vanestra was able. That's when she was having a vision or force visions, and that's what kind of made her uneasy with the hyperspace.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
also like one of the things that I noticed, like what we didn't see before when the two girls were on the ramp, was that Thor was actually holding up both ramps and decided to let one go. Yeah.
First of all, wait. This is my one critique. So the decision that he had to choose one, and he chose Osha, I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with how it was shot. Because it doesn't make sense to me that you're trying to hold up the bridge. Hold up the little girls. They are way less weight than the dang on bridge itself. So I'm like, why is it trying to hold up the bridge? Hold up the little girl. She got to be like 60 pounds. I was like, what is happening here? Like, I like the narrative idea that he chose Osha over May. I just wish it had been done differently. I don't know if they were just trying to keep it so if they started floating, you would know what would have happened before we got to this episode. I don't know, but they should have figured it out.
I think so like there would have been a degree of like. I mean, the thing is, like, you want to keep that ambiguity of what really happened with that bridge. You know, if they were just like floating in the air, and then one of these little girls was dropped, like, oh god, it was just like, I think I hear you, but I also think stylistically for that scene,
I get it, but it's like Titanic because we're all mad because Jack could totally survive on the door with Rose. This is your okay. So I went to school for theater, like playwriting and all that stuff. So to me, it's a creative problem. You need to write something that makes it make sense. Is all I'm saying.
Soul was like, no, I want the one that I can make into a Padawan. It's selfish ass bastard. Oh my god, I hate Soul.
Well, he thinks she's worth saving. He's trying to save the good because he thinks other ones are going to be bad.
Who are you?
It's so messed up.
Dark magic. It was dark magic. I don't know why I'm trying to defend him. I don't agree with him. But
and again, oh sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say I hold that Soul feels like he can do this, not because of himself, but because of the order in which he serves that has told him that you are the moral arbiter of right and justice.
See, that's what I don't agree with, because I don't think the show made that clear enough, especially when they gave him the wiggle room with saying, hey, the council said that children should let them go.
I felt as though yes.
Like why couldn't the council be a part of this so we can hold them all accountable?
But why does the council need to be like? You just want the. I feel like at this point you just want the council to like the whole Jedi Order.
I want
to be like trash. Yeah, no, like you really like, and it's like obvious, but I don't think you. If they really were that bad, then everyone would be slaves. Like it doesn't. Like you can't make them that evil. Like it doesn't make sense in the world. They have like honorable intentions. They need restructuring, but at the same time, they're not like just pure evil.
Yeah, and it's just like again,
cancel the council.
Cancel.
I think that
council.
I just think that these individual Jedi, that they're not doing it because they see they see themselves at odds with the Jedi Order. They see themselves as serving the Jedi Order, but they're doing it in such a reckless way. But still, they've been instilled with that arrogance through the system they've been brought up in. So
I don't think the show makes that very clear.
I don't know if it has to.
Yeah,
because I think there's just a thing in media literacy that that you need to be able to infer some things. You can't tell them
Yes,
everything, or
thank you.
people feel like I'm not stupid. Like you don't need to, so there's a point where you're being told too much. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think there's just
Like what
you have to
has
be
the
able.
council done to make you infer that at this moment? And you're not counting anything that happens in the past because we don't know about the prequels and stuff like that. That's all in the future. So like, what from this show has made you infer that? Because right now, it feels like they're making the opposite point of what you guys are understanding.
Okay, if
I
you
don't
will
think. Go
permit
ahead.
me, oh sorry, thank you, Christine.
No, go
If
ahead.
you will permit me, I'm just gonna read a tweet actually from my friend Jess at Space Jess with 4 S's. So quote, I can't understand how y'all can look at a large group of powerful people who are bound by, quote, laws, but individuals break them all the time, regularly break up families, intentionally walk into conflict with a weapon on their hip, and don't think cops immediately laugh my ass off.
Also, what
I
I
mean,
would say,
I agree with that totally, but I also feel like in this narrative that we were supposed to get, these institutions were supposed to be empowering these people and making them do these things. And you're saying that they're doing all these things. And every
Mm-hmm.
time we've seen the council tell these people not to do these things. Every time these cops are doing these bad things, they're doing it at against the council's discretion. They're doing it
I don't think
around the council.
But we only
right,
hear
but I
from
don't
the
think it's
council
about the council
once,
itself.
No,
right?
Right. I don't think it's about the council. Let me talk. So I just think it's about how, like, you can see that what he was saying is they feel empowered because they have the backing of the Jedi Order. We don't see the council itself being involved, but we hear them quoting rules. We see how they carry themselves. I think there's a lot that just shows that anyone with this robe has this authority, and we know that they are has authority throughout the entire galaxy. Even the witches are like, we don't want to come to attention to the Jedi. You know what I mean? So like they have a presence that's like understood that they have this power, that they believe they have this authority. So I think it's just present, even if you don't see the council physically say, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. We just know that they feel like so empowered because even that's how people see them.
I
Yeah, like look
understand
at
that.
Yord.
I understand that that's how
Wait,
people
too
see them,
soon.
but
Too soon.
that wasn't
Sorry,
the
Jess, we
only
keep interrupting you.
time we saw the council. There were so many times where they're like, "Oh, should we tell the council?" And they're like, "No." Should we tell the council this? No. They'll tell the Senate. It'll be more bureaucracy. There's a bunch of times where they had to tell the Senate something or the council something, and these people chose not to. Whether it was this group of 4 people or Venestra, there's all these little pockets of like people who don't follow chain of command, and it's almost showing that like not following chain of command, that's what's breaking down all of these rules. And it doesn't really show to me that the council and the Jedi as an institution is bad, but it does make the point that you guys are saying, where it's like, hey, these people are empowered and feel like they're special and that they could do all of these things, right?
I
But
think you're. Go ahead. I thought you
I
were
was,
done. Go ahead.
but I was gonna say, like, we've seen things where like the council is like protected and shielded a bubble. We don't get to see them actually empowering these people. We're assuming, we have to infer, I guess, that there are, but the council hasn't done anything in this because people keep hiding things from them.
I don't think I think you're misunderstanding, at least the point that I was trying to make. I don't think that it's the council's fault that this happened or it's the Jedi Order's fault this happened. I think it's one part of it is that they have this where this arrogance comes from, where this empowerment comes from. So I just think it's a part of it, not like the sole reason that Soul did all that he did. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's not what I'm trying to say at all, that it's like the council's fault, it's the institution's fault completely. I do think they need to hold responsibility for their own actions. I'm just saying, like, I disagree with what I think Sora was saying, is that they have this arrogance because of the Jedi Order, because of who they or how they see it. Maybe it not even comes from the council itself, but because of how they are seen, how they see themselves as being a part of this order. So it's not the order's fault, but just like you're taking in this message completely wrong. Like, just to bring it back to religion, because why not? Like how the people who like give Christians a bad name, who show up on my college campus like condemning everybody, when the Bible says, but with love and kindness have I drawn thee, right? So you think you're coming in the power of the word, but you're really coming in your own righteousness, and that's just not how it works. So
Well said. You see,
Thank
this is
you.
what I love about this episode and this series. We can have
So
these
good.
spirited
I,
discussions and
I
like
I'm all about it.
interpretation of the art, you know? Like we can, like we're having this debate, we're having like these discussions, and it's fun. I feel like so much of the nuance is lost, when you're just talking about it in text online.
Mhm.
And it's just like I enjoy this so much. And it's like Neebs, your lack of enjoyment of it, I mean, I hear you out, but it also does nothing. Like, I personally love the show so much that I'm like, I accept it,
Yeah.
and right on. Okay, if you don't like it, you do you. I just like, I may disagree, but like, I'm also not gonna. I don't let it affect my enjoyment of the series.
Yeah.
But again, I even love the discussion of it with someone who didn't like it the way that
Yeah.
I did, and it's just,
And
I
here's
think
the
that's
and,
great.
and
Yeah.
here's the other thing, right? I feel like if this wasn't a mystery, if this wasn't a 7-part episode where they had to build up this huge mystery, and then it took us 7 episodes to get here, and this is what we got, right? If it all happened in a movie, if it all happened in a binge, I would possibly have different opinions. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
all of these things affect the way you watch things, right?
True.
And I feel like
True.
for me, this may not have been the best way to watch this. This may have been more of a binge show for me, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that would have gone down a little bit easier. And I don't like to hate shows just for the sake of hating them. It
No, of
just
course not. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
have to
mean,
experience them as as they're being experienced. This one's interesting. It says, but the irony is that the concept of the Jedi Order is based on the notion that individuals can't be trusted to wield the Force according to their own individual whims.
Mm,
That's very true. That's very true.
very
so I
true.
want to go back to what you were talking about with the time and the episodes. I
Hmm.
feel like I do remember being frustrated at first with it, but I don't agree with what you guys were saying earlier about how they should have combined them or did something different because
Mhm.
each episode is the way that it is for a specific reason. If you look at it
Right.
narratively, they're in a specific emotional state for that
Mm.
episode. So if we talk about last episode, that's the seduction to the dark side. Like not just like physically, because yes, he's fine, but like literally pulling on her. You gotta throw that in because it was looking good. But no, but like pulling her in, listening to her, saying, no, this anger within you isn't wrong, this, that, and other, like literally like letting her like kind of just like feel her own feelings and then having May kind of be with Soul and maybe having to confront that, like that whole emotional state's completely different than the one before with the giant fight where I just feel like, and then the one before that, what happened in four? So I just know that like each one is, I feel like it was set for a specific reason. And yeah, we may
Mhm.
want more, but narratively, they would just almost would have felt like filler. I know they had time constraints. So I know Disney only gives you X amount of hours to do certain things. So they were like struggling to still like, stick within that. But I think she did a really good job with setting up the episodes. They all have a specific feel, they all have a specific message within them.
It's just here's the thing, right? I don't disagree with that necessarily, but I think like they don't feel like self-contained episodes is the problem. Where they leave off is like very unceremoniously. Like if you watch something like House of the Dragon or something, or you watch The Mandalorian, you can watch these in parts, but each part feels like something in a whole. Like you leave
Mhm.
satisfied, and I don't like the way these things. Maybe if they intended it that way, I don't think it's connecting with me that way. If it's connecting with you that way, that's awesome. For me, it leaves me very like unsatisfied. And you're supposed to leave people wanting more, but not unsatisfied. There's a big
Mhm.
difference between leaving somebody wanting more and leaving somebody unsatisfied. And I feel like I get these unceremonious kind of like endings, and I feel like there should be more to them. And they're just not hitting with me, unfortunately. And we only have one
Yeah.
episode left, and it's making me scared because I feel like they're gonna rush a lot of things into that last episode and try to fill in as much as you can. And I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, we will see. Still excited for the finale. I overall still got a lot out of this show, and it really has, honestly, and I've said this before, re-inspired a love of Star Wars for me. Definitely not to the way I was before. But again, a select Star Wars series, because this is exploring these themes, exploring this type of storytelling is what this series can do and it should do more of. We need to, like, what this series is doing, in my opinion, really great is breaking past this tiresome binary of the dark side and light side, Jedi
Yeah,
and Sith. It's just
sure.
like I love seeing the witches. I love seeing the moral ambiguity
Yeah,
of the Jedi and the switching back and forth for May and Osha. I want that, and also to have different interpretations of the Force. Like, do
yeah,
something new. Like, just stop repeating the same story we've seen over and over again. And while the Acolyte is certainly inspired by, the Chosen One stuff we see in the prequels and other Star Wars, it still feels like its own thing and telling its own story. So
yeah.
I love it. I want more series like this. I think Leslie
Completely
Headland
agree.
has done an amazing, and her team have done an amazing job. I don't know if we're gonna get a season 2. I just saw something today, unfortunately, that, well, actually, it's has better ratings than Andor in terms of like viewer ratings. I mean,
Hmm.
so I know maybe that's some hope for it. We'll see if it gets a season 2. I really hope it does, but if not, like, at least the single season of The Acolyte has me feeling inspired about Star Wars again, and I think that's
That's
a
great,
I
really
man.
good thing.
completely
Yeah.
agree because I've always wanted to see the expansion of the entire galaxy, and I'm just
Hmm.
excited to see that. And it's funny because when you see the Jedi, it almost feels as if anyone who uses the Force anyway other than them is automatically bad, right? And that's what
Yeah,
we're kind of getting. And then just to go back to your other point, I don't think it needs to be because it's nothing like The Mandalorian or House of Dragons, and I don't really think it's fair to compare them because they're trying to tell like a different type of story. So
Hmm.
it's not like a Monster of the Week or like a Case of the Week, like a Law and Order. You know what I mean? It
hmm,
is. It's one of the newer styles that we are getting that have an overarching storyline. And I actually, the way I feel like every time the episode is ended, at least for me, I know you didn't receive it the same way. We're given something else, like kind of like a aha moment, or just like something like, well, the way that this one ended, when we see that's when he chooses to tell the lie to Osha. The one before is when we're seeing May put on the helmet, and the one before when we see Quamir or the stranger like find her, turn her over, and then like gently like covering her, and we're just like. You know what I mean? I just feel like those scenes did have an impact and they did have like a reason. So for me,
Hmm.
they like hit really well. And I'm loving this story. And then just not narratively, because I do love the story narratively, seeing a Black woman led show and then with the Asian male lead, like I'm just all about the representation that we've got in this
I'm all
show.
about it too.
So it,
Yeah,
it, it it
So
means
good.
so much more than just like the story itself for me. And the fact that it is so popular, it's not just, it didn't have just a better rating than Andor, but it had a better rating than The Mandalorian. The only other show that had a better rating, well, only the Star Wars show was Obi-Wan. And
Hmm.
like, you weren't going to beat Obi-Wan and anything, especially for this to be a show with all new characters.
hmm,
So I just love
Yes,
it
that
so,
part.
so much. I think
Yes.
like I'm sick of people tearing it apart online. I hear you. Like, I'm not trying to knock you. I don't put you in the same category, Neebs.
Right.
I think you have legitimate like things that just don't hit for you, which
hmm.
is fine. But like that's an amount of unadulterated hate that makes no sense
No.
online. They're just so sickening, and it makes no sense.
Right.
Like you just don't want any joy in your life. I'm sorry about you, but I'm living mine, and I love mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
I
Look,
it's so I want to get all the toys. I want to get the t-shirts. Like I want like everything. I'm so
yeah.
excited, and I want to
Be
see Osha's final boss phase. If she's gonna get like a new outfit, like if there's another toy that's going to be released, that's going to be her. That's not just like that little the other mech outfit she had. So
yeah.
I
No,
agree.
Christine,
Listen,
what you were saying, Christine, about like it feels like to some degree the Last Jedi all over again. That's not to say there are very valid critiques of the Last Jedi. I've kind of like I'm not as big on it as I was before, to be quite honest,
hmm,
but still, like at the time, including now, I feel more viscerally of like you have valid critiques, but then you have people who hate the show simply because they're racist and sexist. Like you can see
right.
it clearly in the coding
mhm.
of their language and
Yeah,
just like how overblown certain critiques are, especially when other white led shows do them. So it's like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
And, but then like, it just makes it so much because you want to like have, good discussion like we're having now, but these people, oh, sorry, wait, remember what I want to say. It's because I personally think, now I may get heat for this, but because this series, in the same way The Last Jedi does, challenges the core tenets of Star Wars, for some of these fans, I think they can often align, not always, of course, but can often align with the racists and sexists of having your beloved series be challenged in its core tenets so much, and you can dislike it. You don't have to like it. That's fine. But also you don't have to react in such a toxic manner
Sure,
as we've
yeah.
seen so many do online. Just like maybe instead you can open your minds to your favorite franchise going in a different direction sometimes. It does not have, like, you've got literally hundreds of other stories set in like the same Star Wars mold, whether that's in movies, TV, comics, books, video games, etc., in both
Mhm.
canon and legends for you to go back to. So just like just let us, like, also just let the universe grow is all
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
also, I would say that even if you don't like it or you're not a big fan of it, give it a try again later on. Because I have, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to horror and thrillers, I have a thing where I normally do not like horrors and thrillers the first time I watch them. I have to rewatch them the second time to actually like them because the
Okay.
anxiety goes away. Because the Batman with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, I did not like that at all when I first watched it. And the second time around, I loved it because the first time around there was like there was a
So
mystery
good.
to it. It was so much happening, and that mystery had me on edge, and it gave me so much anxiety. And then sometimes when you have anxiety, you expect more because you need that drop to actually, match your anxiety, and it
To
has
make
to
it feel
be
worth it.
shocking, right? And
Mm.
then sometimes when
Mhm.
that wears off, then you watch it in its entirety and you enjoy it a lot more. And I'm definitely going to give this another shot. Give it like 2-3 months
Yes.
and then binge it and see how I feel about it. I may change my mind about it. We'll see. I don't know. Right now, these are my instant gut reactions to these, right? And like you're able to change your mind. It's fine. You're allowed to change your mind and stuff like that. And I want nothing but success for shows like this, especially when they're have a black showrunner and an
Mhm.
Asian lead. Like I want nothing but success for these kinds of shows because like even if I thought the show was mediocre, there are tons of mediocre shows by white people
Oh,
that are very successful.
Mm.
And I don't want to say
mediocre.
this. I don't want to say this show is mediocre. I'm just saying if it was, there are tons of other mediocre shows that get just as much praise and that don't deserve it. So
Friends. Friends.
yeah, right. Like
Yep.
yeah, Seinfeld. Hey, come on, like mediocre shows.
But
But
those shows which have a lot of Zionists in them, by the way.
yeah, exactly. But listen, that's what I wanted to share. I really do, love Star Wars in general, and Star Wars to me is like pizza. Even bad pizza is still pizza. Like you would still enjoy
So
it.
so Neebs, I guess like this is maybe this is appropriate. Speaking of pizza, I have always enjoyed pineapple pizza. So maybe that informs my taste.
I love pineapple on pizza. Can I tell you what my
Yes.
special is? I won't tell you where because I won't give any free money. But if you get like a ranch sauce and then you get chicken and bacon and pineapple, so good, so good. And then actually another one has like a creamy parmesan, like a garlicky
Ooh,
parmesan sauce. Oh my gosh,
nice, nice.
so good.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so maybe the Acolyte is mine, Christine's, and others pineapple pizza, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just not for you. Who
Yeah,
knows if
maybe it's
that's
not.
okay?
Maybe it's not, and that's okay. And
I
who
want you to
knows?
make a video when you watch this again in a few months. I need to know. I need to see
Yeah,
your
I
reaction
I
if you
told it
change your
because
mind.
I've definitely done that on a few movies, and The Batman is one of them. Love that movie.
Excellent.
First time,
So
did
good.
not like it. So it happens. So we'll see. All right,
Mhm.
guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, Christine, let people know where they can find you. And also please be my friend, even though we did not like my opinions.
You are always my friend, Neves.
Yes, stay my
Um,
friend.
sorry, now I'm not ready. Guys, I'm Christine Janelle. You can find me at SNLJ, CINELLE. Let's chat on Threads. You see me and my mini-me who've come to support our girl on the dark side. Um, you see videos about me talking about all the fandom things and critiquing and reviewing shows and TV, shows and movies on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Awesome.
hang out.
And Swara, where can people find you?
Well, thank you so much for having me again. I'm at Spider Swars on social media. I'm a freelance writer, writing for Nerds of Color, But Why Though? I've written for Nerdist, and the New Arab. I'm hoping to have some Acolyte coverage soon. We'll see about that. Hopefully, I don't jinx it. And yeah, and you can check out my podcast, The Middle Geeks, which is on a Nerds of Color podcast network where we cover anything and everything Swana, i.e., Mina Media.
Awesome. Well, thank
Very
you guys
cool.
for joining us. Don't forget, guys, to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you write a good review for us on Apple Podcasts, we will send you a free ticket to D23 on the Sunday of D23. So what you do is you go to Apple Podcasts, write us a good review, send us an email with a link to the review or a screen cap of the review, and we will enter you in a drawing to get a free pass for D23 in Anaheim, California. And thank
Can
you
I
guys.
answer?
Yeah, you can enter, sure.
I'm not officially. I'm just a guest.
Yeah, you can order. Just me and Jazz probably can. Anyone else is free to do it. We'll just enter you in the raffle. But yes, please write us a good review because it helps us with the algorithm, helps people find us. And that's all we have for this episode. And until next time, guys, Salaam, nerds.
Bye.
Take care.